Well, good morning. It's a beautiful day, or as we like to say here, hey, look, there's a surprise. It's sunny out, but it's actually not particularly hot right now, so I'm enjoying it. And last night, slept straight through from midnight to 6. I haven't done that since I've been here, so that feels really, really good. It's nice to know my circadian rhythms are finally, in order right before they have to all change again. Anyway, let me tell you about yesterday. Yesterday was a day of successes and setbacks. And so, one of the setbacks is Michael John, our boss, uh, had to drive up to the Turkish border because we have a truck there that's being held at the border, and he was trying to negotiate to get it back. It's important to us. And after driving all the way there and talking and it looking like they were going to be cooperative, it was sent back to Turkey. And so now it's going to cost a lot more money to get back. And so he'll probably be doing some fundraising for that. It doesn't feel like piracy or skimming some off the top. It seems like the workings of bureaucracy and not understanding how it impacts people. But it's frustrating because the hospital is getting so close to opening its doors, and not just for one or two people while the clinic's going. Uh, you know, this truck had more hospital beds, ultrasound machines, and consumables, so we need it. Um, and more people will be coming in from Mosul, and so we need it. So anyway, so that was one of the frustrations. Some of the successes was that Elena and I, but she's been working on this every single day. I've worked on it 2 days. Got the inventory done. And if you look at some of the pictures and you see all that stuff on the floor, that's just separating like tubing and stuff. And so I learned stuff about things you put in places you don't want to know about that I just never knew, um, and don't want to continue to know. I do know that there's this gauze for when you're having a gut hemorrhage, when your stomach's been blasted and you're bleeding, that works quickly at absorbing and stopping. And what's really important is on the outside label it says "Do not eat." I don't know whatever happened that made them have to put that on the label. Anyway, so the inventory is really important because we have the pharmacy, and then we have another room that'll have some meds in another part of the hospital, and the pharmacist starts today, and so everything had to be accounted for, and everything is counted for. Oh, it was a massive job. So that felt good to get that important, tedious job done. At the end of the day, right before we were getting ready to leave, all of a sudden the lights went on. We got electricity. It means we got electricity. It means we got air. That was really exciting. The oxygen now works. It's all connected. So you see the tanks on one wall, and the other side you'll see the patient beds, and know that if they're laying there and they need oxygen, they'll get it. So that's cool. The generator is working. So some big things. The roof is almost totally put on the clinic buildings, the outside buildings, and that makes an enormous difference for the people who are waiting outside to get in. It makes it manageable, and the benches are being put out there too. So that's really cool. So some real successes. Each day had been getting more and more organized and less tense, but yesterday, almost immediately, it started with almost a physical fight between clients or patients, and that was not a great way to start the day. So that was some of it. Afterwards, we needed to. We were leaving, and there was this very dignified couple. This old man, all in white, with the black braid around his head, and the robes, and kind of looking like something out of Saudi Arabia, Lawrence of Arabia, and his wife, who's dressed all in black. And as they're walking down this desert sandy road, we stopped to give them a lift because they were going to the camp next door. And so that was kind of cool, but that meant that we saw some things that we hadn't seen before. So we dropped them off, and we're looking at all these people walking in the hot sand, and the kids. It just looked sad. It looked bleak. and somebody in our van said, boy, these poor people, this is going to be the worst Eid ever. And Fred, our doc, said, no, this isn't the worst Eid ever. The worst Eid ever is going to be in the old city in West Mosul, where the people are going to be eating grass and cats. And we just all paused and got really quiet because we're looking at these kids walking around in this camp and realizing that nobody was worried about them being shot by snipers or watching their parents being shot in front of them. That the reason that people come to these camps is that they're so much better than where they're coming from. And then because we had taken this different road when we came out, we were below this hill that was the cemetery for the camps, and you saw all the stones from when these camps opened. And there's just so many people, and then so many of those people who died are not just the elderly, they're children, and there were people there who were, spending time with their deceased, and it was really very sober. So that was difficult. The rides to and from camp are much more difficult because security is really tight. And so it's taking a lot longer to get through the security checks. Once they see who we are, we get passed by other people. They're going in the trucks and looking inside and wanting people's papers. We just have to get to the front of the line. When we finally get there, then it's a pass. That security is important because, as you all know, things have really heated up in the old city. And so that mosque, huge rumors. Some are saying that it was ISIS who blew the mosque up, that if they couldn't have it, nobody could have it, and they booby-trapped it. There are others who are saying that it was a hit by the Americans. And that's one of the things that happens here, is that rumors fly like crazy and people don't pause and say, does that sound plausible? And it's not a culture of mythbusters or checking the facts or something. It just flies. So whatever it is, people are still reeling from the loss of this beautiful historic mosque, but also what's happening more to the people there. And so we were supposed to go to Mosul today. It's my day off, and I was going to interview April and hopefully try to get that into the blog for the Parliament, not my blog, but the Parliament's blog. This Christian doing clearly working with anybody, and that would have been pretty good. But the fact is that Dylan, who's kind of orchestrating all this, he's been collecting money and getting infant formula and foods for the clinic there, because that's the first place that people go through when they leave the old city. And so he just said, the folks there are exhausted. They've treated 3,000 casualties, not fatalities, but casualties in the last week, of which some ended up dying. When they do sleep, they're getting maybe 3 hours of sleep at tops. They're exhausted. And so instead of having me go, he was looking for the docs and nurses. And so I was disappointed, but everything about that made absolute sense, Plus, I think Kathy would like me to be, where there's not violence. But then it turns out that the clinic there is getting 3 docs. They'll cover them for a week tomorrow. And so our trip was canceled. But Michael, John, and one of our nurses, hopefully Elena, will be going there today to also help. So we're making the contribution in terms of foodstuffs, money, and personnel, and just the amount of damage. So what we're hearing so far is that these children are having their parents killed in front of them, and then the children are used as human shields. Now, I have to say I question everything I hear, but this is what you've been hearing from lots of different sources, and it's consistent with what's happened in the past. So whatever's happening there, it's not good. People are coming out really like skeletons and having a hard time with cognition. They're just numb and exhausted and physically vulnerable, and missing lots of family. There are lots of orphans. So so part of this has been really, really difficult. Um, oh, the other thing yesterday, I couldn't get my tape up right away. See how I'm switching gears here? It's the defense mechanism class. Um, I couldn't get my video up right away because all of a sudden we lost all connection. The internet was just down. And so some of us just kind of assumed that maybe the government was having a news blackout so that whatever flew over us, there's no information going to the old city. And that might have sounded very cool. But remember I said rumors happen really quickly, but it wasn't that. It was maybe a teacher's dream. I have to tell you, as a perpetual student, I would have resented what I'm about to tell you, but as a teacher, I can see some value. It's testing time, exam time at the schools in Kurdistan. And the days of the exam, they turn off the internet so that nobody can cheat using devices. I don't know how that works for hospitals and police and all that, but there's a part of me that goes, that would work. That would work. You'd have to resort to, writing stuff on your hands and stuff. Anyway, so it wasn't some grand military tactic at all. Last night, we all got together and went out to a restaurant for iftar with our translators and Neil and Anna. Neil's this physician who's from Colombia, moved to Argentina, now lives with his wife in Brazil. His wife Anna is from Brazil, so they're a neat, interesting couple. And so we had this big meal, and I was really out of my element. There's so many things that I can adjust to, but crowds are not one of them. I don't know why I love the subcontinent so much, but I do. But the pushing in line and pushing you aside and not queuing up, and if I could have walked away and got home, I would have done that. But it was good to be with our friends and doing something that had nothing to do with something very, very serious. So today is my day off, so I'm going to do something exciting like laundry. Aren't you glad I shared that with you? And then I'm hoping to go visit mosques. They have some really beautiful mosques here, and while I've visited mosques all over the place, and I really appreciate them, what I'm told is it's difficult if you're not Muslim to get into the mosques here, and not because of any religious reason, but what they're really doing is being very sensitive to strangers and security reasons. So I'm hoping to go inside because they're gorgeous, and I'd like to spend some time in a solemn place. But if not, if I can only take pictures on the outside, that's okay because they're gorgeous too. So that's my goal for today. Continue to work on my report. I met with staff here, and we're going to go over the report. I was asked if I could come back in August. I was like, oh, that sounds really, really tempting. There's just this little thing of, no funds, no time. I'm teaching, and my wife likes me, and I want to keep it that way, and I like her. Well, that was really affirming. Not going to happen, but I'll be involved with them electronically, and so even with training, so that could help. I think that's all. It's back to babbling time. Hope you all have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.